workforce. But I don't necessarily also want to see caught up to the point of ex-felons, because I just talked to a young man in the lobby. He's not ex-felon, okay? He's trying to avoid that. He wants some employment so he can avoid it. So this is a twofold, okay? We're talking about blackmail and employment. You don't necessarily have to get an ex-felon. I know that's our focus, but again, the great thing is to keep individuals out of the penal system, their opportunities. So one way we talk about opportunities for young black males wanting to enter the workforce as well. So with that, let me start with an introduction of our panel. And I hope I don't butcher you up too much, but I want to try to get through it so we can actually get to the questions and have some dialogue. Most of us know each other, but I think that's a representative assumption that we do. So I'll try to do justice to each one of your biographies. On the panel too, we have Mr. Dr. Clarence Whittenberg, who's with us. Clarence provides leadership training and consulting to organizations worldwide. He has extensive experience in designing and developing training programs and facilitating meetings in a number of multi-international companies. Let's give a round of applause to Mr. Clarence. Mr. Denice Harris, who is also one of our panelists, my classmate, an assistant development manager for Homes of Hope here in Greenville. She provides property and case management for low and moderate income families and individuals housed throughout the company. She is committed to helping families recognize and develop essential life skills necessary to be successful in building meaningful relationships and focusing on their financial wellness. She is actively involved in the West Greenville and Haynes Street communities. She's also a certified Christian life coach and a graduate of the 2013 class at Farming University Connections Women Leaders of the Upstate. Let's give a round of applause for Ms. We have with us Zaccheus Moss, who was a 1998 graduate of Alabama State University with a degree in business administration, who's worked for several Fortune 500 companies since his graduation. Zaccheus has been employed by Norfolk Southern for the past 8 years, where he holds the position of Assistant Chief Dispatcher. Zaccheus has a passion for assisting individuals in reaching their full potential by utilizing their God-given talents for the benefits of the entire community. Zaccheus also has a passion for youth, currently serving as advisor for God's Chosen Assembly cadets, and also has actively served as deacons at God's Chosen Assembly in Centerville. Let's give a round of applause for Ms. Camile Burton, she's here?
No, she had stepped
out. Okay. And we have Mr. Kelly Walker, who has the FedEx's bio in. Mr. Kelly Walker, my good friend, I give him a hard time as well. We've known each other for many years in the classroom and also on the football field, but he's a good friend. Kelly is a 1986 graduate of Travelers Rest High School in Travelers Rest, South Carolina. He earned his bachelor's degree in social work from Mars Hill College in Mars Hill, North Carolina. He's also a graduate of the 1996 Greenville Technical College training. He's also a 1999 graduate of Circuit Court Civil Mediation Training. Mr. Walker served 8 years in the United States Armed Forces, where he received an honorable discharge in 1998. Mr. Walker is also a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. God bless him. Kelly is also actively involved with the community that serves many communities and boards. Let's welcome Mr. Kelly Walker. All right, we're going to move into our panel because I definitely want to give us an opportunity to dialogue. Not only will our panel, but also give the audience an opportunity to again have a lively discussion with our panel. So I'm going to set the course here as it relates to our questions and give you a little background. One of the things that we do in our employment arena is doing background checks. Background checks are a challenge, and also many of the things that you get in the hiring process, and then they get to that background check. Once that background check comes, things come to a screeching halt, because once it's evaluated, it's put up against the criteria, guidelines of companies or organizations. It can either be the determining factor whether you get a job or you don't. So let's talk about that from a perspective. Does companies use criminal background checks to weed out job applicants? Many do. And it's required by law. And a lot of folks say, well, you set those rules. Either you set those rules. No, those rules are set by policy and procedures within organizations. But they also are set by the law as well. I mean, there are certain things that you can't work with the Department of Transportation or You can't work with DHAC and various places like that and have criminal records. So they have certain laws they put in place to help avoid that. And the way to find out if you have some type of background issue is through background checks. But with the existence of prior arrests alone doesn't give the right to turn down an applicant. And there's been recent legislation, litigation, as it relates to convictions, records denying employment. These things are still in the courts. But again, keep in mind, until the courts settle, we have to follow the policies and procedures that are out there. Such as blanket policies that limit job opportunities for minorities who have higher arrests and convictions. Let's face it, that's why we're here. A lot of African American males have high conviction rates. It's kind of the nature of what happens in our communities. A lot of our young men have been arrested for minor things, and they don't realize that thing on that background check stays with you for life. And I'll talk a little bit about that on the policy. The council will talk about the board will talk about it for just a second. If you could tell me, let's start with Kel, because you deal quite a bit with individuals who have went through the criminal justice system, and oftentimes they're assigned to you by the courts, and we'll give each person a chance to read this. What policy changes are needed to create an ex-offender-friendly workforce? What policy do we need in place?
Well, first of all, I hate that Ava left. She kind of alluded to some policy changes that's already took place with for felons or ex-offenders, meaning that if you got a criminal background, a company should not hire you totally solely based on your criminal background. And the other policy that's out there that a lot of people don't know, that the state of South Carolina are wanting people to come and get expungements. It's not the point of getting an expungement, it's to fill out the application to see what can be expunged. A lot of times, people don't know the policy that it's a lot of stuff that might be on my criminal background, but for those crimes might be charged to one offense. And the policy that's behind that is we're gonna let them go. We're gonna take them off for free and just focus on that one crime, because sometimes criminal background might be 5 pages. But 2 pages of that might come off free. The thing is, the policy changes are out there. It's just that we're not going to seek that resource. Because the first time when we get that letter saying, oh, we're going to expunge this, oh, and this can be expunged for $250. The first thing we do is say, I ain't got enough. And we don't go through and see what can be expunged freely. Right. So there's policies in place that we are unaware of or not even accessing that resource. So Ms. Smith alluded to one, and then the expungement piece that's in South Carolina.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. So again, you can share with us, what policies can we change to help us get ex-offenders back into a friendly, more inviting workforce?
I think first they just need the opportunity. If you have the skill set and present the product yourself, then they have no choice but to hire you. So policies are open for you to have an opportunity, and you present yourself accordingly, then you should definitely have an opportunity. So policies are necessary, but at the same time, they should have an opportunity. Despite your record, you still should have an opportunity. Just present yourself where the person has no choice but to hire you.
Thank you.
Same question?
Yes, sir. Same question. We will repeat?
No, I do want to applaud you and your organization for addressing these very, very tough questions. And this is certainly one of the tough questions. Let me just tell you a little bit about what me and my organization I'm involved in. I work with organizations, medium to large size companies like Cryovac, Hillary, some of those companies, helping them to develop strategies for growth. Now, why do they hire a guy like me? They hire a guy like me to help them to become larger companies. They hire a guy like me to help them figure out how to protect their assets. They hire a guy like me to help them figure out how to become more profitable. Guess what's not on the list? Ex-offender friendly organizations is not on the list. Yes, they are citizens of the communities where they reside, but they look at ex-offenders as a threat to their assets. So, I'm sorry, I don't have a positive report to give you. I only say that I work on the other end, and I will say that there is an awful lot of work to be done in that area, and I applaud you for addressing it.
Thank you. Camille, I didn't get a chance to introduce you, but let me just give you a brief introduction. Pastor Camille is a licensed ordained minister, so godly woman. Help me. She's ordained and proposed to be, while she is pursuing her BA in mathematics and minor in business administration at the University of North Carolina. She began an outreach program for Christ and has served as president of campus ministries. After graduation, Pastor Camille was led to the Lord, fully committed herself to the time and ministry of fellowship as a coordinator in Full Gospel Baptist Church and fellowship in North Carolina for several years. She gave birth to her first child in August of 2001. Is that Josiah? Yes. Josiah Louise. And a second in October 2006, Jaden, Linda, Leanna Jordan. Welcome to the panel. Did you get this question?
I apologize. I was, y'all can laugh at this, but I was trapped in the bathroom. I couldn't get out.
Incarcerated.
The door closed. I tried to open it, and it opened. I pulled the doorknob, and it came off. And so I was out there, not trying to scream because I knew you all were up here. So eventually someone came and got me out. I'm not sure where you got that.
Okay, the question I have is, what policy changes are needed for ex-offender friendly workforce? And can you couch that question around background checks and the policies and procedures associated with what companies are required to do in order to pre-clear individuals to work. And what happens is, oftentimes it comes to a screeching halt in that employment process. When you pull that, and I get mine out of the fax machine, but sometimes on the computer, and I'm printing, and I'm like, okay, we're at page 7, so we got 7 pages of background here. I know you're not working for me, but we're just gonna look at it anyway. So what happens when that person gets that screeching halt? How do we make a workplace more friendly when you actually look at those 7 pages, maybe 7 pages of misdemeanors, all of them traffic tickets, or maybe one DUI, but that's no serious felonies. And that policy says, even with those misdemeanors, I can't hire you.
Right, well, I know what you're talking about because we've had several members come through our doors that have encountered those challenges. It just on misdemeanors, not even felonies. And I just, again, commend what you all are doing here because I learned so much just even in the first hour that I didn't know, even though our church has a prison ministry and we do what we can to help those that come home re-enter as well as they can. But I think that one of the things that we have to do is just be willing to share information and to network with jobs and people who are in positions to hire and people who are in positions to influence or, for lack of a better word, bend the policy. You know, because there are people in places that have discretion with who they hire and they have liberty and they can take a chance on someone. But I think that the networking piece, not just within the church community, but in our community at large and through forums like this, and just being willing to share the information. As a matter of fact, I'm going to send to Pastor Boyce some information that the person that's over our prison ministry compiled, and you all may already have it. But she just did a little research on some felon-friendly companies, and she just made a list. And so when she was on the morning show on Channel 7, York Carolina, and we used to get a lot of calls about what can we do, where can I look, and we would just pass that information on. If you just even have an idea where to start, I think that's good. But also just being willing to network and being willing to share the information, and those who have influence being willing to take a chance when someone has got good references, when they've got someone speaking on their behalf, a pastor or a mentor or someone that knows them well, that being willing to take a chance on someone.
Denice, yours is so unique based on your profession because oftentimes you have to look at a person's background before you put them in the house or even pre-clear their credit or anything of that nature. So share with us how you guys are willing to deal with policy changes or what policy changes need to be made in order to help a person transition from prison to even just a place to live, if you will.
Thank you all first off for having me here. But one thing at Homes of Hope that we are good about, the
president is, nothing is written in stone. Nothing is black and white. There's so much gray area. And so he is always willing to listen to the voice of reason. And so I think one thing that is very important is that companies are willing to review and reevaluate their policies. And, allow some flexibility and some room to, allow people who have made mistakes to re-enter. And I think also what's important is that the community leaders, we need to go out in record numbers and start speaking to more of these companies and organizations, because when they realize that we believe in the ex-offenders, they start to believe. Because we got a lot of influential people sitting in here right now, and if we all went out and just started going to do that, I think a lot of policies would be, reevaluated.
Absolutely. Thank you. I mean, again, she makes a good point about trying to reach out. Me, as a person who does business with other clients, I mean, I can go to my client and say, I got a whole bunch of applications here, and I want you to change your policy so I'll be eligible, and I probably get laughed at and I cancel my contract, but because I'm asking them to change a policy that is in place, they've had in place for many years. It all goes back to our judicial system and how it works. All of this tied in, from the standpoint of once you get that record and it's on your background check. And I keep telling young folk, when you fill out that application, just tell the truth. If it asks you, have you ever been arrested? How many people have never been arrested? Raise your hand. How many of you, raise your hand, have been stopped by police? All of you been arrested. All of you been arrested. Keep that in mind. All of you have been, what does it say on that blue ticket? What does that ticket say? The arresting officer. Okay, you've been arrested. So that's how tricky it is. So keep in mind that, when you check on there, have you ever been convicted of a felony? Most times, have you ever been convicted of a misdemeanor felony? They used to have you ever been arrested? And everybody's been arrested if it's not by police or you receive a ticket. You're on arrest. What have you? You can't drive off or what have you. But keep that in mind is that many times, folks, we want to be able to make sure we're able to hire these young people who have those criminal backgrounds, but the policies and procedures won't allow us to do it. Either my client company or my own policy. My policy is 5 years misdemeanor, 10 years felony, 3 years bad checks. Any other thing within that time period, I'm not going to hire you. Why? One, because my workers' compensation insurance, my general liability insurance won't let me do it. Okay? I'm not going to pay $15,000, $20,000 more for general liability for someone who I took a chance on 5 years ago. It cost my insurance company $7,000 because I took a chance on them. And I still probably take a chance on a person, but my insurance is going to go up if they want that job do something wrong. Okay? So we got to keep that in mind too, the liability associated with that.
Can I add something right there?
Yes, sir.
He asked that anybody been arrested and we ever got stopped by the police, you get arrested. But the thing is, a lot of people that's messing up when they fill out job applications or when they get to that question, have you ever been arrested in the last 7 years or so? And they've never been, what they say, overnight stay in a jail. But from the people we talk to, if you get fingerprinted, you have a criminal background. It doesn't matter if you go in the front door, they fingerprint you, you sign a piece of paper and walk out the back door. You have a criminal background. And a lot of people is not educated on that. So when they fill out a job, well, I ain't never been to jail. I've been arrested, but that got threw out of court. So they check no, and then when they pull their background, something come up, and they say, oh, they lying. But they don't know that once you get fingerprinted, I don't care who you are, you get fingerprinted. Don't matter if they threw out of court, they burnt it up. On your background, you have a charge, a criminal charge.
And keep that in mind, because I run into it so often, and I'm always in the room to tell you this, is that what he just made a point was these guys driving around, ain't young ladies driving under suspension, even though you need the officer to arrest you when you went to court, that goes on your criminal record. That's a crime. It's on your record that you were driving under suspension. Okay, And you say, well, DUIs, all that stuff stay on your record. You got a gentleman who, 16, I think he was, 1972, standing on the corner, somebody handing him a gun down on Spring Street. And y'all know what Spring Street used to be in 1972, right, Brother Paper? And so, somebody handed him a gun. Totally forgot about it. He was 16 years old. In 2011, it's still on his record. He never went to court. He told the police officer wasn't anything. He go get a fingerprint because they had a gun, illegal possession of a gun. But he went through the booking process. He ended up on his record, and it's been on that since 1972, when he was 16 years old. He shouldn't even been on that because he was a juvenile at the time.
Should have been under the Youth Defenders Act. A lot of
But they didn't have youth offenders back in 72, so
a lot of times people on their criminal background charges under the Youth Offender Act, they expunge those as free as well. So the thing is, we have to educate our people on the expungement process, because everything you got on your record is not going to be expunged. But the thing is, go see what can, and then what can, see what can be expunged free. I'd rather have somebody with 10 charges drop to 3 as you go present to me 10 charges. You know, and a lot of times that's the discouragement, like, well, I got a criminal background. But the plus is you had 10 and it went to 3. I can say a 3 over 10. But a lot of times, well, I got to pay for that. Okay, what kind of TV you got at home? Oh, I got a 50 inch. Okay, how much that TV cost? $700 and something. Okay, one charge is $250. Where are your priorities? If you're really trying to get back, where are your priorities? See, the thing is education. It's not just a GED education, education on the systems that we operate in every day. And if we get the community and leaders to come together and educate our parents about these systems that we operate in, this forum we won't be having as much, because people be educated on what resources, what policies that's in place that are going to benefit me instead of hurt me. I'm sorry.
So you might take that. All right. As this move to our next question, and on the couch in the form of ministry. Ministry to ex-offenders, ministry and support to ex-offenders is often considered more difficult than serving those in prison. Caring for those released prisoners when they are facing issues of accommodation, employment, reintegration with their family can be very demanding. Prisons have been used to people for things to do things for them. No matter how basic they are, they want basic accommodations, clothing, food have been provided for these individuals. On the outside, they have to think and fend for themselves. And many are not capable of making good judgments. Supporting ex-offenders with the reentry in the community and their families by helping them resolve life issues and assisting them in the integration to their supportive church are key issues if they are to break free from life of crime. I'm going to ask that question. I'm going to start with Minister Camile with that question, because oftentimes, Minister, they get on the probation parole and they have to go to church, they're part of the church program. We have a couple of them come to our church, and then the parole officer, they just hoping that Sunday that they're at church, because that parole officer can roll up in there on the Sunday morning. You know the parole officer, because we don't have any. We have somewhat mixed congregation, but you know the white people come to our church. So they get to make sure John is there, okay, on that back row while he's on probation parole. Because if they come to that church service, he's not there. Because if you don't send in a program home by a family member saying you've been in church, they actually come. You got to still do that program. I know the federal program does that.
Yeah, not as much anymore.
Okay. But after that's over, what about the support programs that are there for individuals? What can churches do to improve the attitudes of the community toward these ex-felons? Because people start looking at them in church, well, I see that little black thing around their leg, we're trying to have a long, suit thing type thing. People kind of push back and think, how do we help them transition into our church families once they have been out? Because that's where I think
right. Obviously, the attitude starts with leadership, and that attitude has to be that we want to help you, not humiliate you. So we're not going to announce that you're an ex-felon or that you just get out of prison unless you have an awesome testimony. We're not going to treat you any differently. As they mentioned in the first session, that you got to love your neighbor as yourself. But everyone has to be willing to do that inside their church family, and then be willing to offer the assistance and help and the mentoring. I mean, truly believe that, and one of the questions I know it wasn't voted on here about reducing the incarceration rates in the community in general, I mean, it really just boils down, I believe, to the breakdown in the family in the African American community, as they referenced earlier, and the absence of the father. And so if we can be committed to fathering not just those just coming out, but those children that are at home that are angry because their dads have left, and be committed to having those men, those older men in our churches, those mature men, those godly men, set that example and be willing to spend time with them, showing them, you know, what this walk is supposed to be like, then that is one of the most critical things that we can do. I know that it's challenging. I mean, because we've tried this on a number of levels, particularly with our youth, even with our young men, because the reality is we took them away. We took some 30 young men away. My husband did a few years ago. We were having a mentoring program. We took them on a retreat, and literally around the room, the number one hurt in that room for all of those young men was their father left. They were hurt. They were crying. I mean, literally, just about every single one. And so, and then we've watched these young men over the last few years, and you see the ones that are on this path, that if something doesn't change, if God doesn't get a hold of them and they don't realize what they're doing, then they're going to be in the system. And you try and warn them with all abandon, but then you have the other challenge at home, because you have a single mom who's stressed out and got, you know, she's got kids, and she's like, I can't handle this pressure, I can't handle this stress. And so we even had problems getting support from the mothers when we were trying to have this program, trying to have the men mentor these young boys to get them to see this is what a godly man walks like, and this is what his life looks like, this is how he treats his wife. And but even for those who are re-entering, just having someone there who is willing to take the time to show you this is how you do this, that is so critical. I think at every age, because it's lacking at every age in our community.
Thank you. Sister Denice, as a Christian life counselor certified recently, how do we help these young people retransition back into society? And then our church folk, you know, we try to know the folk sometimes. I don't know what that person sitting beside that black thing around their leg, make it so shaky. How do we help them deal with the church?
First and foremost, we need to remember what the church is about. And it is about love, and it is about helping others. And so we can't continue to sit in church on these pews in judgment of those who don't look like us, or who are not of our status as we deem them to be. But I think what's important is that we reach out and that we love, but that we let them know that, you know what, we believe in you. Absolutely. You know, you're me. Like one thing that I do with the clients that I work with, you know, I let them know outside of the education and the dress, I am you. I am one paycheck away from being homeless. And so I learned that I had to be transparent. And through my transparency, guess what? They learn to trust. And then once they trust me, they start to develop a relationship with me. And so I think it's the exact same thing that applies to church. We have to be transparent, because I think Renee said before, we've all done something wrong, whether we've been caught or not, okay? But we're so quick to say, well, she has that on her record. Well, I just didn't get caught doing the exact same thing she was doing. And so I think that's what the church needs to remember what it is truly about. And it's not about us as individuals. It's about us collectively come together as one.
Right. What is our mission? Thank you. Mr. Moss and Dr. Whittenberg, same question. Mr. Moss, and then, what do you have somebody from Mr. Whittenberg and then Mr. Moss? You go ahead and share with everybody. Come on down the line. And bring it on in. Then we'll get an audience opportunity to get into this discussion.
But by the way, I don't know you, but it's a pleasure to hear someone like you talk with so much passion about what you're doing. It's really nice to sit on these panels and hear you talk. Earlier, Minister Floyd mentioned that as an ex-felon, there are people, men, who will come to her and talk to her because they can relate to her, and she can tell them what they're about to experience and what they've been experiencing. I think one of the things that churches can do to help reintegrate ex-felons into the congregation is to use people like her as an example. what a wonderful teacher to have people come in and say, listen, this is what I've been through, and this is what you are faced with, and we can help you. We love you, we care about you, and we want to get you back on Main Street, but it's going to take some work on your part to help do it. So rather than shun them, I think we bring them in and benefit from the experiences that they've had.
So thanks, Dr. Mr. Moss. Sure.
I'm kind of reminded of the Good Samaritan story. Talk about a man that fell among thieves, stripped his clothes, left half dead on the side of the road. Priest walked by, that's the church. Levite went to the other side, looked down. Samaritan came along, representing the community, and he bandaged his wounds. He carried him and took him to a lodging place and covered his expenses. That's what we as a community or a church are supposed to do. Now here's this picture of modern day. A black male falls on hard times. He's unemployed. He's facing addiction. He's physically abused. He's sexually abused. He's facing racism. He's stripped of his dignity by society. He's left as a bum on the street, no prospects. Church leaders and church members pass by and gossip at him. Organizational and political leaders, they look down and meet about the person on the street needs to be removed by some ordinance or some law. Finally, a concerned citizen sees the need, addresses the physical need and the scars, picks him up, dresses him, and carries his brother to be transformed mind, body, soul, and picks up the bill. This does not end the story, because once unemployed, this individual, he goes and helps another brother. So I stand now. Am I my brother's keeper?
Come on now.
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Come on.
Get him off. Don't cut out of
But the only thing I want to say is, I just want to address some of the stuff that I heard today when they said that these guys, these kids are missing their fathers and this kind of stuff. And it goes into what Mr. Moss just got through saying. That mom or that person on the street was a father. The thing is, these fathers are not deadbeat, and we want to label them as deadbeat. They're not deadbeat, they're dead broke. They're from broken homes, they're from broken dreams, and they're from broken hope as well. So the thing, because they're a man, we'll say that he left. If I father a child and I don't understand what that responsibility is, because I was one of those kids that didn't have a father. So why are you going to label me and say I'm deadbeat? Because I don't understand that responsibility. The thing of the church is, and to stop the incarceration rate, or to stop people to thinking that somebody incarcerated, is to do what the God said. God said, first love. If we don't show love to whoever walked through our door, he said, like with the wedding, he said, you ain't in proper clothes. Because we want to ask them, instead of saying, I'll give you love. And if you meet them where they are, you won't know they're incarcerated or not. The thing is, we're not meeting them where they are, we're meeting where we want them to be. And that's the same thing as with these kids missing their fathers. Their fathers don't want to be there, but they don't know how. Or we're just looking at that father leaving and not looking at the conflict that's in that family. A lot of fathers are leaving because me and mama can't get along. And we're not looking at that. We're looking at, oh, this man is a deadbeat. The thing is, if we don't stop this movement of unemployment, incarceration, recidivism, we first got to look at family. Yes. We have to look at family. And if we don't look at family, we're going to continue the cycle of perpetuating itself over and over. I don't care how many programs or resources out there until we can educate our families and to the minister. Did you know we are 5 generations of fatherlessness? So we're 5 generations of fatherlessness. What do you think the groundwork we got to do? We got to start with the family. And the church can do that because they can lay the foundation of God and what a family is supposed to be. We won't be having these relationships of these girls with low self-esteem, and the guys got low self-esteem, and then we trying to make a baby, and we don't know how to handle that. That's where it starts.
Yes, sir.
You know, to me, that's where it starts. And once we do that, we can start repairing and building, and the church is the foundation for that. Because it ain't saying that you got to come in and get saved. I'm going to come and reach you where you're at, so when you get there, you know the forgiveness of God. Just like he just got through saying. He just said it. The Samaritan did it. He didn't do it out of because he want God put it in his heart to do it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ms. Adams?
One quick thing, if you're familiar with Triune Mercy Center,
Yes.
Triune Mercy Center is a great example of what a church could be like. Triune allows the people who live on the streets and in shelters to take part in their service on Sundays. They take up offering, they pass out bulletins, they're greeters. They do not look at them as deadbeats on the street. They look at them as humans, and they incorporate them into their services. And it's an amazing thing. So if you've never been to Triune Mercy, I challenge all of you to go and visit one time, and it'll give you a totally different perspective. But one other thing too, I agree with the gentleman on the end about Mr. Kelly, please forgive me, about the importance of family. But family is not always biological. And we got to remember the extended family and the village. And I'm going to point Sheldon out, so he's going to look at me like I'm crazy. But Cameron, my son, I am a single mom. My son is a great young man. Sheldon didn't know my son very well, but he knew of me and the gentleman I used to date. And then his wife also taught Cameron. When Cameron was interested in Morehouse, Sheldon was like, let me know if there's anything I can say or do, to help him make a decision. And when he sees me, he will ask, how's Cameron doing? Or I'll stop and say, hey, Cameron is doing this. It takes a village. And so even if his father wasn't at home, it's strong black role models like that can also influence our kids to be the best that they can be.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I just want to follow up on a point that Mr. Walker made, because these guys, they're not deadbeats. Some of them are dead broke. Whatnot. They come to work for us when they get out of incarceration, or just jumping who have never been incarcerated, but they have child support issues. And we had a young man came to me, and everybody know who Paul Wickerson is? I know who Paul Wickerson is. And when I see Paul Wickerson's name on the envelope, I know what that means. That's going to cost you $3 more out your check. But this one young fella has a special situation. The fella makes about $460 a week. Works for $320 of that go to Paul Wickerson, who writes a check to, I guess, 3 or 4 baby mothers. But that's just the way it is. He called me, came in the office one day and said, Mr. Bishop, can you just, no, because when I was in college, mine didn't miss a day of Pampers, and she didn't miss a meal. So I don't give, no, we ain't gonna do, I'm not, first of all, I'm not gonna break the law. Clerk of court said, take that $320, you go see the clerk of court, but go see the judge that told you to do that. Bottom line, or what have you, and that's the way it is. So don't ask for no pity for me on child support, but the thing is, the challenge that many of these young men have. Not only can I get a job, but most of it I have to pay in child support or what have you. So some of these guys have 2, 3, 4 babies. And Paul Wickerson sent a letter for each one of them. Okay? So that's the challenge that they face.
I just want to give y'all a challenge. This is one of the participants in our program. This guy is 27 years old. I don't believe that. This guy is 27 years old. And this was the panel, the previous panel. 27 years old with 16 kids. That's alarming to me. He's 27 with 16 kids. And we say, I know, I'm talking extended family, grandmama, big mama, all of them. But where did he miss something at for him to be 27 and have 16 kids? And the unique thing about that whole situation, one by each baby mama. It ain't like I got 3 by this one over here, 3 by that one over there. It's 16 kids by different women.
Okay. Here's what we want to do for the panel.
That's a good thought. Think about that.
That's a good thought. but I know you have questions, and just as we did with the first panel, we should you guys have a chance to ask questions and interact with the panel as we've done with the first panel. So be prepared to answer questions. I try to keep my mouth shut, but I have please don't say something. So let's start with our question. We'll start with Minister Renee, then go to the young man, and then Sylvia.
I'm like that. I want to thank you all for coming. And I want to say too, you know, my father was an excellent role model. He was not in our house. My parents were divorced, like I said, at a very young age, but he still engaged in his children. And the thing that I think that we got to understand as a church, there is a heavenly Father that will never leave you, that will never forsake you, and we need to introduce male, female, regardless, incarcerated or not. We need to introduce him to them so that they can understand that, yeah, your physical daddy might have left you, but I know a daddy that will never leave you. When you're at home and you're all alone and you're in the dark and nobody's there to talk to you, this daddy will be there to comfort you. You know, so that's the number one key, that we gotta embed in them that they are loved. And it's not whether your physical birth father don't love you. Brother David loves you. He's going to step in and be that father figure for you. Just knowing that you have someone there like you to give you what you need is oftentimes more than having a physical father in presence. Because not all baby mamas make a good decision. Some men look good, smell good, talk good, but they are no good. And we have to be honest about that. So it's bad on both perspectives, some bad women and some bad men out here. And my question is to the pastor. I commend you and your husband for what you all are doing. But how can we grow together as churches, networking as churches coming together to host not just individual retreats, but let's do a united retreat so that we can get various people, white, black, African, Haitian, regardless of their ethnic background, where we can get them all together to share their stories, because each one teach one.
Oh, absolutely. And that's really our heart. I mean, we would love to partner with other churches to do something of that nature. We've actually have attended on several occasions, whether it be the mentoring thing, the singles, men, couples. I mean, we've tried a number of things to reach out to other churches, and unfortunately, we're kind of selfish as a church. We like to have our own thing, and we like to do our own thing, and we want to get the credit for our thing. We don't want to come like in the, in Congress, we won't come across the aisle. We don't want to come across town or across, because if I don't get the credit, then I don't want to do it. And really the church just needs a little to rethink a lot of that. But I just love the opportunity to meet you because I definitely would love for the person who works in our prison ministry to meet you, because and you as well, people who are working with the reentry, because as they're going into the prison, they're meeting these people. I mean, and just to give glory to God, I think over the last year we had over 100 salvations through our prison ministry and the visits that they live. Because our basis is this, like you said, yes, we got to have love, but you need to get saved. You need to know Jesus Christ is your personal Savior, and you need to know the Word of God. You need to have a godly character, because that will keep a lot of that mess out of your life. If you live for Christ and you have wisdom and discretion, then that will cut out about 70% of the issues that would cause you to go back. And so, we like to do that, but we can definitely share information.
Okay. One of my Pastor Boyce walks that back to the next question. Person asked a question, I want to make a comment, because we've had two forums, and we couldn't state the problem, and even talking about the problem. But my hopes, Pastor Boyce, is the next Oliver and project, we have flip charts all the way down this road, and that we start solving the problem. Because with the expertise that we have in this room, both as I know sit in this room can answer some questions and have great ideas, we need to flip charts and stuff and find out what organization and how we can put a committee together to go to all companies and say, how do we work on building a relationship with you that you will hire ex-felons? But you got to write that. You gotta have a plan. You can't go half-cocked saying, I got an application, I want you to change your policy, or something like that. Let's go to the next question. We'll talk about that in a minute.
How y'all doing? My name is Mario Canada. I just want to start off by saying thank y'all for coming because I learned a lot just by me sitting here listening to y'all talk. But I'm 24. When I was 22, I went to jail for 17 days for a loud ordinance ticket. And it's not murder or selling drugs. And I worked at a lot of big companies, but a couple of weeks ago, one in particular, I applied for a job. I was dressed appropriately. My face was shaved. My references checked out. I went for 3 interviews, and I passed the drug test. But when my background check came back, they couldn't hire me because of that. So my question is, you think they didn't hire me because I went to jail, period, or why do you think they didn't hire me?
And did you put on your application?
I can put it on there. I can answer that question. Anyone else on the panel? They didn't hire you because you had been arrested, and it probably was in the last 3 years. In the last 3 years. Okay, so it falls
But
within
you
the time
see,
frame.
you get that expunged, and that it was just a loud ordinance. See, the thing is now you need to go fill out the expungement application. And it's free to fill it out. It's free to fill it out, just go fill it out, and they'll send you a letter.
It's a pretrial intervention.
You know what they say on the street, you know what general session is?
Yeah, that's right.
They on the bottom.
The window for expungement is really small, but that's not the end all to be all, because you can always write for a pardon. And like you need to understand that just because they say no to expungement, that doesn't mean that there's not another step.
Yes.
So you have to advocate for yourself.
Yeah, and the part of the thing is, because we have got one person almost pardoned. And the thing that we're finding out with the pardon process is, it's a fine related to that crime. And they gonna give you a pardon, but if you got like a $10,000, $20,000 fine to go with that, they ain't gonna pardon you because they want that money. They don't want that money. Now they'll go you through the process, and then they get to the end and say, oh, it was a fee related to this crime. Do you ready to pay that? You said, man, I ain't got no $10,000 right now. So then they stopped the pardon process. We had one guy almost get pardoned. We thought he was pardoned, but he had a $100,000 fee to the crime that he committed 20 years ago.
Okay, and see, that's why I'm talking about, we gotta have those flip charts there, because a lot of folk don't know that. We gotta be able to have Selden and Senator Mitchell and yourself sitting there talking about what is a pardon process, and how do people get to it, and what do they need to do. You got $1 million fine, if you ain't got $1 million, so that's gonna be on your racket. Then figure that out. So that's one of the bullet points on that, so that's what you're gonna work with. Or what have you. I think we got some questions working this way, Dr. Caldwell, then Selden, and then Dr. Caldwell.
I think one thing, I think we have to realize, as the gentleman said, from the business perspective, hiring a felon or any ex-convict, they see it as a risk. And if someone would come to this door, or even Brother Devon, he explained our situation, even if he dressed the part, we trained him, he joined the organizations, we put him in the church, we loved on him, do we have a job to put him in? I don't think it's enough for us to say, well, I'm going to talk to this company to see if they'll change their policy. Well, I'm going to talk to this HR person to see what the process is. I think we have to turn the mirror on us, Black community, and say how many of our business owners will hire these that we're sitting here talking about. If we aren't even willing to take the risk, to say we're going to ask majority companies to take the risk is almost hypocritical. Because they will tell you, 5 years, misdemeanor, 10 years felony. If David Mitchell, Ava Smith, or if we turn the mirror and say, will everybody in here commit to either hiring or having the organization they're associated with hiring a felon, that's a start. Then we can move out. But if we start talking again,
It ain't gonna happen.
it ain't gonna happen.
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir.
Something coming to my mind. Too many churches, not enough love. I'm saying that because I'm a minister. I'm ministering about 8 countries. Too many churches, not enough love. Very important. Because people think that coming to a church, they think it doesn't come to a church, that's not even love, but that's not the case. I'm saying as a minister, I've been to 8 countries. ministering in 8 countries. But I see this young man over there. I see the way he holds his microphone. I know he probably sing or something. You are sort of rapping and things, isn't it? I can see that. I can see the way he holds his microphone. The way, because I can see some gifts in him right now. That's what the church has to begin to do, to recognize young people like this, and to develop the gifts, and to provide employment for them. I can just see his gift. I never met him. I saw the way he holds it. We're not looking after young people, we're not interacting with them, we're not recognizing their gifts, we're just externalizing everything. We're not looking at within ourselves. It's about time to sit down and put love into action. Love is a fruit. We got to work it. It's not a word, it's a fruit. It takes a lot of time before you grow up. My ministry is called Agape Love Outreach International, Outreach Ministry. And in there, as an educator, it's my business to give people information, because the Bible says in the book of Proverbs, wisdom is the principal thing. Get wisdom, get understanding about everything. So therefore, the essence of church is education. The essence is education. I went to New York when we started. It was Minister Floyd at a thing in New York. The first thing he does at the beginning of the service is to give his congregation information, housing, employment. The church has to begin to turn its theology around, begin to look at itself, total person, not as a beautiful stone on a pulpit. That's not enough. We got to look at the whole person. Employment for these young people, and all the other particular things.
All right, got one more question. Dr. Coleman, any more questions? Dr. Coleman? You can make a comment too.
A couple of things. One of the things that I wanted to say, since we're speaking about churches, is almost every church that I'm aware of does have a prison ministry. And my understanding of a lot of the prison ministries is really about visitation. And I think that we really have to take the ownership and understand that if we have that access, it has to be about more than that. It has to be about preparing them for re-entry. It has to be about talking about the obstacles and the difficulties that you're going to face when you come out. I can't tell you how many guys come to me and they're just not ready. They just did not think it was going to be this hard. They just, you know, and we're talking about those who actually have some family support. Those that don't have anything, they're so despondent. So I think that the church needs to really kind of partner with people who do like what I do, and I'm not the only one in South Carolina that's focused on reentry, but I think that that's where we have to start. If you have a prison ministry, you need to find out what else can we do.
Yeah, come in.
Hi everybody, I'm Natalie Milam. I'm a case manager for Goodwill. And this Hi. So I just want everybody to know, I heard a lot earlier about different community resources and there not being enough mentors and things of that nature. So there are a lot of agencies here in the upstate that offer a lot of the things that you guys are talking about. At Goodwill, we have a job connection services, which helps people to find jobs. It's a full staff. We have an employment specialist there, and they help people find jobs. They know about the ex-felon-friendly companies and things like that, so we connect people with those resources. We also have training programs. We have one in particular, which is the Career Skills Now program, which we have 2 case managers for, myself and Bernard, who spoke earlier, but he's gone now. But we work with these individuals. We make sure they have soft skills. We make sure they understand how to present themselves when they go out. It's not just for ex-offenders. It's for anybody that's interested that wants some of these skills that's going to help them to land manufacturing positions. So we help them with all of that. But if they don't want to do our program, there are many other programs out there. There is an employment readiness program at United Ministries where they help people. They send people back to school as well and scholarship them in. So it's not necessarily always about, do they have the money? Do you have the drive? If you have the drive, we can connect you with the resources. We just need to know that you're really serious about it and we're not going to be wasting our money when we send you back to school. So I just wanted to say that I think a lot of the issue is that we don't know about the resources that are available in the community to individuals.
Thank you. One point about Goodwill as well, for those individuals who may have been arrested or what have you, may not have been arrested, you can get your background check done at Goodwill for $15. When you come to my office, it's going to cost you $25, that's your first check. So, because he's not a profit. So, and they're making a profit off of it. So I didn't want to share goodwill stories on how they get 15, but anyway, it's $15 for your background check. But I'm not a nonprofit, nor am I making a profit off that. I just want to make sure you have background. Get your background check done. I done my own background check. I just want to see no arrest record. I hope it stays no arrest up there. But you can pull your SLED record and see what's on it. Okay. If you don't know, it's like your credit report. Pull your criminal record. Find out what's on there. Don't walk in the office, look for a job, and get surprised and find out something been on there since 1972. Man just didn't know. But if he had pulled his criminal record, he could have dealt with that well before he got there. So pull your SLED background. I want to cost $15. Dr. Cole?
I have a question for Mr. Whittenberg, and for you too, David, as well. A lot of folks don't know that unemployment will bond ex-offenders. So a lot of times if you are facing an employer and they're kind of on the fence about whether or not they want to hire you, you can say, I can be bonded for up to $1 million for like 2 years, and it would cost your company nothing and you would be covered. Would you consider that? And again, let me just say for people who are in the hiring field, we talk a lot about the problem. I'm about the solution. And so we can say it starts with the family, and we can say the community and the church. Those are very, very big entities that in order to get them to move requires a whole lot. But it doesn't take a whole lot to get one person to move. It doesn't take a whole lot to motivate one individual to do something different, to think something different. And that's where it starts. Yes, these entities are important, but we've got to start with short-term goals, and we've got to start with individuals, because 4 individuals is a group. And that's how
the question is, would bonding help?
Would you consider it?
Anything else? Let me just say that, first of all, the employment situation in Greenville, South Carolina, in the United States is very competitive. I'll guarantee you that for every job that you apply for, there are probably, give me some numbers, 25 people. I've heard as many as 200 people, good, qualified people who are standing in line and want that job. So anything that you've got to offer that you can put forward, absolutely, put it forward. And I'm just going to say this is a little bit on the side. The name of this forum is Black Male Unemployment. We've talked a lot about ex-felons. I think we've got basically 2 questions, 2 different forums going here at the same time. Because black male unemployment without being an ex-felon is tough. So I just don't want to candy coat it. It's an uphill battle, even if you're not a felon. The fact that you are just makes that hill a little bit higher.
And let me just say, statistically though, most black men who are unemployed had a criminal record. And that's why the 2 are lumped together, is that although black unemployment in itself is huge in this community, the statistic is 1 out of 18 individuals has a criminal record.
And that's a shame, and that's what needs to be worked on.
Okay. Let me sum up as well, because we're right at 4 o'clock, and I want to ask you a question very, very quickly, is that the bonding thing is somewhat with double-edged sword. One thing you're saying to a company here, I do have an ex-felon, when he does steal from you, you're covered, okay? It's a psychological thing from HR manager, okay? That's when I'm sitting behind the desk, and I'm on the other side, thinking like, well, we steal. But the other side is, why did you hire somebody you knew going to steal from? That's the psychological thing of a HR manager. Now, you are on, see, you're on that side of this, you're trying to tell. Right, and that's what I'm trying to convince you how double-edged sword that is, or what have you. Because yeah, I'm bonded, but if you're on a construction site from this pain, and you decide you want to go back at night and steal the front end loader because he got some Camile converters in it, then yeah, now you're up against that bonding insurance. Your bonding insurance not gonna cover no double-edged loader. Am I correct? So that's what you're gonna run into. So that's the challenge that they have in construction. Let me just take right quickly.
Maybe it's not only construction. Take a major corporation, Cryovac, Seal Air, GE, Michelin, BMW. The reality of it is they are criminal friendly, okay? And I think we need to come to that reality. We've talked a lot here, but I look at Long Range, okay, that has a program where they help people get into business, okay? And that's helpful. The reality of it is that a lot of things we could do in our community to help people with felons get in. The reality is they don't get it. And I'll give you an example of what GE's position was. If we hire a person who has assaulted someone, and we become compassionate and we bring him in, and he on the floor one day or in the office assaults somebody else, we've got a problem. Because we knew that he had propensity to assault people. So now our assets that Whittenberg's talking about is at risk. And they aren't going to assume that risk for us or anybody else. Okay? Too many people out there have clean records, want to work. But I think, back to Selma's point, we've got to look at ourselves. It is my friend Ricky Bird back here who's been extremely quiet today. If all the churches decided to hire one person, help them get some lawn equipment, okay, cut some grass or do something else, but we are looking at these high-end jobs that ain't gonna happen. It's how can we do for ourselves in some of these jobs that may pay minimum wage, something less than that. It's not an ideal situation, but the reality of it is we aren't going to find these kind of jobs. And these companies, it's going to be a long, long time. Absolutely. Probably not in our lifetime, by the time they change to hire some criminals.
So the challenge there, we're going to let the name go, and then we got to wrap up. Sure.
I just want to say this, everybody's not good. And I know personally of some people that work in those major corporations. It's not oftentimes about what you know, it's who you know. And the fact of the matter is, most people that have made it up the chain in drug dealing, they are very business-minded. Oftentimes, they can help a legal business become a multi-million-dollar business because of their skill set. And as Sheldon has said, if we don't take a chance on our own people, why do we think someone else is? And to end this note, I firmly believe everybody is not corporate material. Everybody does not need to go to GE and want to work. Personally, after you've been in prison with 2,000 women, you don't want to work at GE. You don't want to be on the floor with 2,000 people or 800 people, whatever is out there. I should know this, my mother retired there after 30 years, but I never cared to work at GE. I like to make my own money. I don't want you taking $75, $80 out of my check. I want to be able to pay quarterly on my taxes. Let me make my money. We need to focus on teaching people how to become entrepreneurs, to be better than just what their parents were.
Absolutely. And that becomes one of our flip charts. And again, as we wrap up, and first of all, let's go around this panel. We thank you for your expertise, but as I shared with Boyce and the Olive Branch group, we got to flip charts up next time. We say the problem in two meetings now. It's time to start coming up with some resolutions to how we resolve these issues that we're facing. And just bring all these minds in. Let's sit down and dialogue. We have to get 5 or 6 foot tables to sit down and hammer it out, so we can go to these organizations and say, how do we resolve the issue with a pardon? How do we resolve the issue with the background checks and things of that nature? We didn't even get into people who can't pass drug screens. I mean, we didn't get into that. I think I shared last time. 40% of my folk, the easiest test I give. I mean, I give the Bennett mechanical. I mean, it's a hard test. Myers-Briggs, one simple test. Nobody, you go in there, can't even in a cup. That's the easiest test you can pass. But we got folk problems. Okay. Yes, sir. And then we got to wrap up. So yes, sir.
Have something on teaching people how to be an entrepreneur.
That's going to be one of the flip charts. And I do an entrepreneurship workshop as well, along with Ms. Payton as well, to do some things like that. So we'll get together on some of that stuff, and that could be an idea that we can take forward and talk about some entrepreneurship Mr. Bird is good with that as well. So we'll come with some good ideas for you guys.
Let's give Mr. David Mitchell and our moderator. He's done a great job. By the way, he is the chair trustee of my main missionary Baptist Church, my pastor. So give me a hand, everybody. Thanks to the Long Branch Pastor Dogan for hosting the second forum. Thank you for coming. There's a couple of things we need you to do. We hope you're going to do some writing during this time. There's 3 things we're going to ask you to do. The first is to make sure that you have signed in, because the comments that were made about us moving forward, this is phase 2 in a 5-phase process leading towards a strategic plan. We're going to come forward with a strategic plan of how we're going to transform this community. We had to have at least 3 forums so that we could hear from you about what the issues were, so that we could come down and have those sessions where we put things on paper plan. But in order to change that, we want to make sure your efforts are fully appreciated, that we have the contact information. So can we get that? Can we say yes? Yes. All right. Second thing we need you to do is that on the front of your bulletin, you see the YouTube address for this panel. By this time tomorrow, it will be live. We want you yourself, as well as one person, you point them to this forum today so that you will comment on what you saw and heard during these 2 panels today. Make sure you give it feedback. Everybody's on YouTube anyway. So is the Olive Branch Forum. So make sure that you do that. The third thing we want you to do is to come up and interact with these panelists, these participants today. Everybody that is here today will be emailed the sign-in list today. We want to make sure that you have your contact number ready to give to some of these people, because networking is the way that we're going to transform the community. How many of you learned something for the first time today? All right, including myself. And David and I work together every week. I still learn a lot just from listening and observing. So we want you to do those 3 things. Review them again. The first thing is make sure you sign in. Don't leave it until you sign in. Second thing is you and somebody else visit our YouTube channel. Make sure you blog and comment about what you saw and heard today during the forum. And third thing is make sure you exchange contact information before leaving here today. This was a powerful experience today. Thank all of you for coming. Give yourself another hand as we dismiss our panel. Thank you so much. Please make sure you